One of the key areas to being successful in your law firm is getting the right number of clients to support your overall goal. And when you're doing that, sometimes that means you may have to invest in marketing a little bit. And so, what we've done is we've created a calculator to help you analyze your marketing spend so you can really get to a estimate or a good idea on how much should I be spending on my marketing. So, I'm going to walk you through how to use that calculator. So, here's the calculator that we've created, and we've laid out a few key things. So what all you'll need to do is plug in a few numbers and it will start doing some of the calculations for you. So let's walk through it. So let's say if you're a law firm and your revenue target is $180,000, you want to generate $180,000. Well, the next thing we need to understand is, what is your average case value? So when we think about the types of cases that you work on, it's, hey, how much are each of those cases usually worth when you work on those cases? Now, that may vary. And I will say, for you to get a more precise number, you may need to work with your accountant or your CFO to help you calculate that based on your history. But let's just say if the average cases that you bring in are worth $2,500. And then what we need to do is we need to look at your consult rate. So the consult rate would be is really the number when you do a consult, what percentage of those consults actually turn into clients? So let's say in this case, if 45% of the consults that you do usually say, yes, we want to hire you to be our lawyer. And then we want to understand, what's your lead to consult ratio? Now, what we know is you're probably going to have a lot of leads, people who reach out to you, but not everyone who reaches out to you will become a client. So let's say in this case, out of all the leads you had, when you followed up with the leads, 60% of those leads said, yes, we want to be a client of, or we want to do a consult to see if we'll be the right fit for your firm. Now, the last thing we need to look at is, what is your average cost per lead? Now, the average cost per lead generally is calculated by taking how much money did you spend on your marketing divided by the total number of leads that you had come in. And that kind of gives us an idea on how much money are you spending to actually get a lead. Now, once you plug these numbers in, it's going to start giving us some results at the bottom, because based on your cost per leads, I can tell you, hey, here's how many leads you're going to need to achieve $180,000 in revenue. And then I can tell you, based on your lead to consult ratio, you're probably going to need to be prepared to do 160 consults. And then based on your consult win ratio, you're going to need about 70. You're going to probably bring in about 72 clients. And then what I can also calculate and estimate is, this strategy is probably going to cost you about $25,000 to $26,000 for you to execute, if these are your metrics. Now, let's look at another scenario. Let's say if you wanted to do for the entire year, you want to generate $2 million in revenue, if that was your target. And let's say if your average case value was, let's say, $10,000. And then let's say if your consult ratio was, 50% of the consults that you do become clients. And then we say, hey, out of that, let's say 70% of the leads that reach out to your firm actually ask for a consult. And then let's say if it costs you, let's say maybe $75 to actually get the leads. Well, what this tells me is, in order for you to hit $2 million in revenue, you would probably need to spend about $42,000 in marketing. Now, I will tell you, this is a very, very generous one. If you're generating, if your average case value is probably about $10,000, you're probably spending somewhere probably north of, let's say, $250, per lead, because that's a really high value. But once, what you can do with this calculator is you can plug in different scenarios, and what it is going to do is it's going to give you an idea on about how much you should be expecting to spend if these are the type of results that you see. And what we've done is we've created it so you can put in 3 different scenarios so you can see, well, let's say if you wanted to take this same scenario, and let's say if your cost per lead actually went up to, let's say, $350. Now you can start to see what changes you need to be expected to make, or what areas you can probably work on to improve. Now, the last thing I want to point out here is the marketing ROI number. We built this in so it automatically calculates. Now, in general, when you're looking at a law firm, I would say anything below a 5 is probably going to be a low performing kind of marketing strategy. Anything between a 5 and a 7 is probably going to put you in a decent kind of ROI for marketing. But anything above a 7 is going to be, I would say, you're on the high end when it comes down to results. And the thing is, you don't need to understand how to calculate all of these things. All you really need to do is be able to plug in these numbers at the top. When you plug these in, this calculator can help give you an idea to answer that critical question that so many lawyers ask is, how much should I be expecting to spend on my marketing? Well, I hope this tool helps. And if you have more questions, or if you need a CFO, definitely reach out to us. We're always glad to help more amazing law firm owners get a better handle on the finance side of running their law firm. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Law Firm and Finance Show, where we give you great content that helps you build a more successful law firm. So make sure you hit that subscribe button on all platforms and follow us for more content.